Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice Radio. So today, we're going to be taking a little bit of a look at a new Lurantis card. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We're getting a new Lurantis in Sky Legend, and we've got a translation that comes from both the lovely Joe over at Cerebi.net and the lovely David over at limitlesstcg.com/translations. And when they agree, we're usually on to a good one. So, if we start off looking at the basics, we've got 110 HP, which is frankly kind of low for a stage 1. I mean, we got stuff like Zapdos that has 110 HP as a basic. And that's not even the beefiest basic we've ever seen. No, ladies and gentlemen, we are not a huge fan of the HP here. The retreat cost of 1 is quite nice because you've got a skateboard and U-turn board, and you've just got attacks that cost 1 energy, so that's quite nice. The weakness to fire is a pain, because with stuff like Welder running around, fire decks are way better than they used to be. And the fact that it's a grass Pokemon can be quite good. We've got really good healing with stuff like Life Forest Prism Star and the Shaman from Lost Thunder, although you've got 110 HP. But the best thing you're hitting for weakness, that being Lycanroc, is rotating out. Now, to be fair, we are still going to have Lycanroc, but it's just not seeing all that much play. So we have a look at the attacks, then they are always the main draw. The first attack, 1 colourless energy. This attack does 10 damage to each of your opponent's Pokemon. This is actually surprisingly good. This just spreads 10 damage to everything. Now, up until now, we've had a decent way to go ahead and spread some damage. We've been able to spread damage using Tapu Koko. Double colourless energy, 20 damage to everything. And we've had the Latios from Shining Legends, which for a double colourless energy does 30 to the active and 30 to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. Well, this is going to be coming out the day after, well, it's going to be coming out just before, but it's going to be made legal the day after the rotation hits. That means that we're not going to have Tapu Koko, we're not going to have Latios, and we're not going to have double colourless energy. So all that stuff I said before becomes essentially entirely irrelevant. Okay. So now we are on the lookout for something that can spread a whole bunch of damage. And now we can get a little bit excited. There is a wheezing coming in Unbroken Bonds that I'm quite a big fan of. Between turns it puts 1 damage counter on each of your opponent's basic Pokemon. Which is wonderful, because it's 10 after your turn, 10 after their turn, 10 after your turn, 10 after their turn, etc. But it's also just basics. So it's fine against a deck playing a bunch of basics. It is not fine against a deck that's not playing a bunch of basics. Probably a fairly obvious thing to say, but worth pointing out anyway. So we're losing our big spreader. We're losing the thing what we've been using to spread a whole bunch of damage around. In that context, this leaves an opening. This could end up being pretty gosh darn good. 10 damage to everything. I mean, look, the other thing to note here is for a colourless energy, which means it can be put into any deck whatsoever, and it's just a single energy. It's not a double colourless energy, you're not going for your 1 of 4, it is any basic energy. If you're really that worried, play a Viridian Forest or Energy Spinner, which is coming out in Unbroken Bonds, and then you'll be able to just go ahead and search that energy out. So don't worry about the energy's fine. The real question with this attack is, okay, is 1 good enough? Is 1 damage counter, is 10 damage to each Pokemon good enough? Because if we looked at something like Latios, for instance, and then looked at 60 HP Pokemon like Zorua, you could essentially KO 2 of them in 2 turns. Even something like Tapu Koko, okay, it would take 3 turns, but you would KO all the 60 HP Pokemon, so it might be worth it. Whereas if you look at something like Lurantis here, you're what, 6 hit KOing? It's not good enough. So you're just not KOing anything with Lurantis. What you are doing is setting stuff up, and this could be relevant. This could be absolutely relevant. Take Reshiram and Zekrom, for instance. They are hitting 230, which is good. That's a lot of damage. The problem is that Pikachu and Zekrom has 240 HP. Now, at the moment, it's not a problem because we got Choice Band. But by the time this comes out, we ain't going to have Choice Band, ladies and gentlemen. Now, we will still have Shrine of Punishment, But that puts 1 damage counter on each Pokemon EX and GX between turns, yours and your opponent's. So yeah, you'll get that KO on Pikachu and Zekrom, but you'll also start doing a bunch of damage to yourself, which is far from ideal. And then of course we've got Incineroar, which does 30 more damage for all of your attacks to the active, but then it's a stage 2, making it really quite awkward to actually use. And that is, I think, where we can start getting excited about Lurantis here. We're moving into a format without Choice Band. If you're a fighting Pokemon, you've still got Diancie Prism Star, so you're probably alright. If you're a lightning Pokemon, you've still got Electro Power, so you're definitely alright. And if you've not got enough Electro Power, might I remind you about Electro Charger, which gets them back. There's plenty of stuff to enjoy here, if you're lightning or fighting type. But if you're not, we're losing Choice Band, we're losing Tapu Koko, and we're struggling to do that extra 10, that extra 20 damage, which is going to get us the KO. That's where Lurantis comes in here. Now, to be fair, it is a stage 1, which is the biggest issue here. If you go first, I don't have a huge problem with this, because if you go first, you can't attack turn 1, then you evolve, then you go. But if you go second, then you're doing this on the second turn, you're able to attack, and at that point, I'm much, much less of a fan of this. It's not to say it's terrible, but it is to say it's a pain in the neck. Okay, I think I made my point. As for the second attack, 1 Grass Energy, 50 damage. If you have any Fire Energy attached, you do 100 damage. Now, 100 damage for 2 energies, pretty gosh darn good. The problem is you got to have the grass and the fire. And on the one hand, you can use Welder to attach the fire, which is awesome, because it doesn't count as your attachment for the turn. And on the other hand, Welder lets you attach 2 energy to 1 Pokemon, which means that if you use this to attach 1 energy to Lurantis, you still either can attach a second energy to Lurantis or you lose it. You don't get to attach it to a different Pokemon. Now, I suppose you Welder 2 Fire Energy on, then you attach a Grass. Now you're able to manually retreat and still have enough energy on to attack in the future. But let's say, ladies and gentlemen, that that's a bit of a convoluted argument here. It's not really what we're going for. And 100 damage is in that weird middle ground. It's not actually even going to KO something like a Zapdos. Now, there are some non-GX Pokemon you'll get here. You get like Malamar, but then again, you don't get Naganadel. And you do get Jirachi, but as I just mentioned, you don't get Zapdos. Evolving Pokemon, you generally will KO here, which is quite nice. Something like an Inkay or a Poipole will go down fairly quickly. But you're not really getting those bigger non-GX Pokemon. In terms of GXs, the good news is you're doing 200 with weakness, and that will incidentally get the Lycanroc we mentioned earlier. But there's no Choice Band here, so you don't get to do that damage. Even something like a Magikarp and Wailord, which might be the most relevant Pokemon that's weak at the moment, you're only getting 2/3 of the way there. You're not actually that close to a KO. That's annoying. So, I quite like it, but I'm not loving it. If you're playing it for the first attack, I can see an argument of, well, we're playing it for the first attack anyway in a fire deck. Now we can attach a grass and go. Or I'm playing it anyway in a grass deck. Now we can attach a fire and go. And it will give fire decks a potential answer to grass weak Pokemon, which might not be terribly relevant now, but could well be in the future. But I think that really is about it as it stands. I don't think it's a bad attack by any stretch of the imagination, but I don't think it's going to be a reason to play the card. I do like the first attack, let's be clear about this. I am a fan of the first attack. I think it's good. I think it spreads damage around. I think in a format with Tapu Koko and Latios, it's completely pointless, and I would never play it. But in a format where we're not only losing Tapu Koko, but we're also losing Choice Band, I could see this as a way to get that extra damage on. So let's go ahead and give this free Wassies. This does seem like a classic free Wassie card. You need to put a couple copies in your binder, because you never know when you're going to want to pop it in a deck. It could be useful. But I would very much like to know what you think about this, ladies and gentlemen, so please do let me know in the comment section. Go nuts! But please do remember the rule. Be nice, would you? And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassyPlays, where we talk about games that don't have Pokemon in. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.